Welcome to episode number 10 of the Between Two Brands podcast. That's right, we've hit double digits. I am your host, still your only host of this fine broadcast. My name is Bill Petrie, and I want to thank you for taking the ride along with me on this little experiment. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. But before we get rolling today, got to pay a few bills. Hey, folks, there is so much good coming out of Bell Promo these days. Here's just a few things. Lowest minimums in the industry? Yeah, you can Bell Promo that. Deepest inventory around? Oh, yeah, you can Bell Promo that. 5-star and A+ service? Yes, absolutely, you can Bell Promo that. Simplified pricing? You're darn tootin' you can Bell Promo that. And if that weren't enough, and by golly, that really should be. The good folks at Bell Promo recently announced they are now offering 2-day production on most of their products. And now, frankly, I think that's pretty amazing, but I think I should probably stay on brand. 2-day production? Hell yes, you can Bell Promo that. Now, I want you to head over to bellpromo.com to learn a little bit more about their 2-day production on most products and feel confident that when your client asks you to create branded merchandise that's available, has low minimums, and 2-day production, you can say, oh yeah, I can Bell Promo that. All right, I'm still kind of workshopping exactly what this front section of the podcast is before I bring on a guest. So today I thought I'd kind of talk about the general topic of proofreading and quality control, or at least message control before merchandise is released into the wild. Now, in the promotional products industry, this is something I think we take very, very seriously. We proofread, we make sure that things look the way they intended to look. And most importantly, we make sure that there aren't maybe some hidden meanings the way some fonts are laid out or the way graphics are laid out. Well, New Era, which is the official baseball cap of Major League Baseball. Baseball just started their season. There's a couple teams already playing in Japan or have already played by the time this drops. But speaking of dropping, they dropped their new overlap collection last week on March 10th. Now, what these are new ball caps merch, and it has the team name across the head. And over it, overlaying it, hence the name Overlap Collection, is the team logo. Now, for most Major League Baseball teams, the logo is a letter. For the Oakland A's, for example, it's an A. For the Texas Rangers, it's a T. For the Houston Astros, it's an H with a star on it. So that's what most Major League Baseball teams, their logo is. Here's the problem. Because the main letter in the team name is the logo, and when you put that in the center of the team name so it overlaps, it kind of creates some interesting new words. Now, for example, the Astros became the Asshos. Kind of uncomfortable there. Not sure why people didn't see that. The Angels, right there, became the Anals. Sort of. And the one that got the most press was my beloved team, the Texas Rangers, because when you put a T over Texas and you cover up the X, you get the lovely word Titas. Now, my Spanish is a bit rusty, I have to admit. However, even I know that Titas is Spanish slang for female breasts, female uptops, female anatomy. And you can imagine the internet handled that the way the internet handles things. Not well. A lot of jokes, and honestly, a lot of them were funny. And predictably, Major League Baseball in New Era pulled those hats, the Rangers hats, immediately. I don't know if they've pulled the entire collection. I know they've pulled also the Astros and the Angels ones, but I think there might be some out there. I didn't get one of the Rangers ones. I would have gotten it just for the comedy value, but of course now they're going on eBay for 4 or 5 times the price because it's a collector's item. I just wonder how in the hell did this pass quality control? How did it pass people at New Era? How did it get by people in Major League Baseball? How did it get by the individual teams? How did they not see this and realize this is not good? this is going to be an issue. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up, it completely underscores how important it is to get a few different viewpoints from few different ages, from different cultures, from different men and female perspective. If you're not getting that type of perspective when you're doing that large of a launch, you're really taking a chance that you're going to kind of put your foot in your mouth, or in this case, put the wrong hat on your head. So I guess that's a great lesson from New Era in the importance of proofreading and getting as many people involved as possible to ensure you aren't broadcasting something offensive on a piece of merchandise. Tell you what's not offensive, and that's our good friends over at Certified Marketing Consultants. You know what? Many people know how to build a business, but few really understand not only when to sell that business, but the process involved to ensure you find the right partner to maximize the return on your investment. Honestly, you need an expert, especially one in the promotional products industry, to help you decide, which is where our good pals over at Certified Marketing Consultants come in. Now, Jamie Watson and her team have decades of experience facilitating private company sales in the branded merchandise space. Now, to help you evaluate if it's time to sell your business, I want you to reach out to our good pals over at CMC at info@certifiedmarketing.com for a confidential discussion today. All right, I think we're done with this front end of the podcast. Let's go ahead and get to our guest. My guest today needs absolutely zero introduction, but as I like to do, I'd like to waste a little bit of his time for sure. And also your time, probably my time. Let's start with this. Lats, traps, bats, swag fam. Family first, always. But it just flows better in that order, doesn't it? He is the first of 7 kids, and his siblings are a huge part of his life. Our guest and his bride brought 3 children into this world, and they are now adult. Even though they're now adults, they still bring them considerable amount of joy. With grown children, he now has plenty of time to pump iron at Gold's Gym, rocking out to musical scores of his favorite superheroes, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and more. No Aquaman or Green Lantern in that. We're going to have an issue with that later.
Not for the musical scores.
No. Oh, and he loves those movies as well. He is the CEO of Blue Phoenix Branding, a creative marketing, branding, and merchandise agency based in Idaho Falls, Idaho. He's also one of the nicest people in the promotional products industry. Please join me in welcoming the one, the only, Travis Powell. Travis, thank you for coming on this is episode number 10. You are now double digits. So you are clearly in the top 10 of guests. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Well, thank you, Bill. It feels like fodder. Last week, as everybody knows, was the powerhouse woman of promo, the best one of the year. To follow that up, in food context, Bill, last week you served Wagyu steak. And this week, you opened up a tin of Spam, 40-year-old Spam. That is the context right there.
So I would disagree. Granted, last week was a meal to be relished all year long. I look at you coming on board as a palate cleanser. It's a lovely segue into the next 10 episodes.
Bill, one of my next lines is like, this is not a palate cleanser. This is a palate well, we're going to find out. But I am thrilled to be here, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. And we are going to find out. So, Travis, as is our custom, you might have a topic or two you'd like to discuss before. I have some 5 very simple, very straightforward, very easy questions that might be slightly awkward that I personally and others can get to know you just a little bit better. But before we do that, do you have anything that's on your mind you'd like to discuss?
Well, I do have
today?
a topic, but first of all, Bill,
Okay.
you posted yesterday brand new offices for
Yeah.
Brandivate. So we
Yes.
wanted to do something special. All of us at Blue Phoenix Branding wanted to get you a special gift for your office. And
Oh boy.
this is really going to be special, Bill. I feel bad for the Spotify people who don't get to see this. This is a glamour shot autographed
Oh
of
wow.
Travis right there. That's a limited edition autographed. That's
Oh,
1 out of 10,000. So I think that's
wow.
going to be
Okay.
worth some money. someday.
First of all, I can't wait to hang that. Please hold that, keep holding that up. I'm going to describe it for the people who are
I'm
watching.
not.
So it is, and if you can picture your old Olin Mills type photo where
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
a full, like a half body portrait and then a face looking longingly into the distance, that's what I'm seeing. And Travis is quite buff in his Superman tank top. It
Yeah.
is somehow alluringly disturbing, but I cannot
Yeah.
wait to hang it up in my office.
I think that's what we were going for, is alluringly disturbing. And interestingly enough, that was a t-shirt, and then I flexed and the sleeves flew right off. So,
You're, and we're going to get to this later, but the amount of
ooh.
power you just exude, honestly, always just, it certainly humbles me, it arrests
Yeah.
me, and it makes me realize how much of, how much further I need to go in my
I
growth
know.
as a man.
Yeah. I Well, the ego's flying right now. Well, let's get into my topic here.
Yeah.
We are
Yep.
nearly to movie season, one of my favorite seasons of the year. A couple,
Yes.
two,
You're a
three
big movie
years
guy.
ago,
Big movie guy.
big movie guy. And it's not all superhero movies, by the way. I'm going to talk
Oh, I
about
know.
Mission Impossible. A few
Okay.
years ago, they released Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Cost them
Mm-hmm.
about $300 million to make. It made about 600 million. Now, in movies, you need to at least double budget to break
Right.
even.
Right.
And as such, they lost money on that particular movie. So we've seen a rebrand from Dead Reckoning 2. They filmed both movies, Dead Reckoning 1 and 2, simultaneously. They
Right.
rebranded to The Final Reckoning.
Okay.
And so to us in the marketing sphere, I would
Mm-hmm.
be curious about your thoughts about a rebrand. Simply the name, maybe for an underperforming movie, for those people that didn't watch the first one, how off-putting it is to see Dead Reckoning 2 versus the Final Reckoning, and maybe also the word final in there.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what's Mission Impossible, Travis, is getting me back into a movie theater after COVID. That's
Ah,
pretty impossible. And it's sad because I loved movies. I love the communal experience, especially for big, large budget action movies, but also comedies. There's something about watching those in a communal environment that just it can't be replicated at home as much as it's more convenient at home. And I miss that. And the reason I don't go, we can get into that later, but our movie theater that we have locally here just stinks. It's terrible. It's a terrible experience. And the amount of money you have to spend to go experience something negative, the juice
right,
isn't worth the squeeze. But to answer your question, I think it's very smart for them if the final reckoning is the final movie in the franchise, if Tom Cruise and his plastic surgery face is finally hanging up that role, I think it's smart. I think it makes a lot of sense. It just does floor me the numbers, right? And you're 100% accurate. If a movie doesn't at least double its production costs, it generally either breaks even or loses money. And you throw out a number like $600 million, it seems like how could anyone lose
right.
money with that kind of box office? It's staggering. I think it's smart to rebrand because if people feel like I already saw Dead Reckoning 1, I kind of know what's going to happen in Dead Reckoning 2. I think you stand a chance getting an audience that didn't see Dead Reckoning 1. And I wonder, and you might know this, do you know if because I remember them shooting both at the same time, kind
Yep,
of like they did Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 were shot at the
yep.
same time. Are they going to re-edit it so that if you didn't see Dead Reckoning 1, that the final reckoning will tell a cohesive story? Like, is it going to be standalone enough?
That's an excellent question. I have heard nothing. If I were to guess, I would say no. You're just going in blind, assuming you've got another installment. All the other Mission Impossibles, you walk in, you walk out, and it's closed. This particular one, I suspect they didn't tweak a whole lot. They had already invested ghastly sums of money on the production.
Yeah.
So there could be some lost people, but they'll enjoy it. And you're right, Tom Cruise, Botox, plastic surgery. The last movie was the first one where I actually looked. I'm like, I'm starting to see it. You can only
Yeah.
fight that for so long.
Right. And you can only look young for so long. There's something to be said in Hollywood, whether male, female, whatever, of aging gracefully.
Yeah.
I think of someone like Helen Mirren, who is
Oh my goodness.
76, and still, she looks every bit of 76, but is a elegant, beautiful woman at 76. I'm sure Brad Pitt has had some work or George Clooney, but they seem to have aged gracefully. I can't see it if they've had it, so I'm not going to say they
Right.
didn't have it. Whereas Tom Cruise, he kind of looks like a Madame Tussauds walking exhibit at this point, especially facially. When you go to the movies, let me ask you this, because I think this is kind of a marketing question or a branding question, or at least an experiential marketing
Yes.
question. You're in Idaho. You're not in the biggest metropolitan area in the world.
No, we are not.
Um, when you go to the movies, what is your experience like, and how is it different than it was pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, just going to the movie, regardless of the movie, that was an experience. Dinner, movie.
Hmm.
It has shifted,
Dinner at the movies or dinner then the movie?
dinner than the movie. We do not
Okay.
have those fancy theaters. So
Okay.
I think in truth, COVID didn't affect this, but just my
Okay.
perception of the value of a movie. I will not go to a movie now for the sake of going to a movie. The experience is not there. It has to be the right movie. And I think we see
Yeah.
that in the box office. If you've got a winner, there is still a lot of money to be made. But churning out things expecting butts in the seat just because they have nothing better to do, I think that is over. Now, COVID, I don't think has really shifted the movie experience for me. Here in
Okay.
Idaho, we were very much not a masking state. There wasn't a whole lot of consideration for those things.
Right.
So I don't think there were shifts in the way that we congregated, and
Yeah.
as such, it's just all the same.
Here in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just 10 miles south of Nashville, so a fairly decent size, certainly a growing metropolitan area, but not the largest, not the smallest. A good mid-sized city. We have one theater close to us, which had right before COVID had rebranded. It was an AMC theater, and it was now a dinner theater. So you could have dinner there,
Yeah.
typical bar food, things like that. Some elevated appetizers. You could have a beer, you could have a cocktail, glass of wine. They had fully reclining seats. Really, like, okay, this is now an elevated experience.
Yes.
And now, they closed down for a while and then reopened. And Sandy and I have gone back, say we miss going to the movies. I miss that communal experience. I spoke about that earlier. But they don't have enough people working there. Half the concessions are closed.
Yeah.
This was what killed me. I wanted to order food and I was able to order it through my phone. Okay, that's fine. But then I had to go get it. They didn't even deliver it to you. I'm
Why
like,
order through the phone?
yeah, why am I? Yeah, exactly. Why I'm ordering through the phone, and the food was terrible, and the pricing, of course, is astronomical,
It is.
and it strikes me so interesting how many companies really don't look at the view of the experience of their audience to transform it. Because I will tell you, I would pay $100 for a movie ticket if it was a great experience.
Yeah.
You know, you could do some sort of all-inclusive pricing outside of cocktails. You could do something like that. I don't know. It drives me nuts. So I loved your question. Now, last question before we get to my five easy questions, if I may.
All right.
You're a big superhero guy. We're going to talk about that in a minute. What
Yep.
is the next superhero movie that you're looking forward to? And I think you're more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy, if I know you as well as I think I do.
I am a DC guy. It does not come down to fists if someone's a Marvel guy. I can appreciate all of it. I think it
Sure.
elevates
Mhm.
everything. And I think we're seeing a decline. Now, Batman, and this will come up. Batman, by far the favorite. I lost a
Understand?
brother 2.5 years ago. We were Batman fans. If I was watching a Batman movie at home, I would take a picture of my TV and send it to him, and he would send one
Yeah.
back. So there is something special. That was the last movie that we went to together was The Batman with oh, it's the new gritty one. I can't even
Oh,
think.
yeah. I know what you're
Pattinson.
talking about. And yeah, and I know that was
Yep,
something you and your brother really bonded over.
absolutely. So it's always
Yeah.
Batman. But right after that, and this is kind of a light and dark Superman. So we've got the new rebranded Superman.
Yeah.
He's lighter. He's not wearing all spandex. There's like wrinkles
No.
in his clothes, and it's going to be a very, I think, closer to the Christopher Reeves take. A little more hope, a little more innocence. They're
Yeah.
actually having Crypto, his dog, which with any other director could seem extremely cheesy, but when you've got James Gunn, who made a talking raccoon and a talking tree, really lovable. I am thrilled. I'm excited.
Well, I'm glad you are. You have to let me know how that is because as soon as I saw that there was going to be Crypto Superdog in that movie,
Yeah.
I was out faster than anything that can be out. Um, okay, I gotta ask this, man. This is gonna go a little longer. Favorite Batman of all the people who play Batman? Because I'll tell you, my favorite is Batman as well. My favorite superhero of all time is Batman. I think he's the most interesting, complex.
Yes,
There's so much just deep-seated psychological issues with Bruce Wayne slash
agreed.
Batman. Which actor portrayed your favorite Batman? I'll go first. I'll be vulnerable here and go first.
Let's hear
I
it.
think I think Christian Bale nailed that character, the grittiness, the edge, the disturbing portions of the personality better than anybody else did, with Ben Affleck being a close second.
Well, and a lot of times you have to ask who's the best Bruce Wayne, who was the best Batman.
Yeah, I'm
And
combining them, baby.
yes, and so it's tough for me to argue with that. I would say the best Batman, purely based on two movies. You take out the recent Flash
Keaton.
movie where they made it more comical. Ben
Yeah,
Affleck plays an amazing,
yeah,
gritty, buff, ripped, dark Batman. But I
yeah.
always got to go back to Michael Keaton as
He was
kind of my
great.
first experience with Batman. There
I
were
get
some
that.
iconic lines in that particular movie. So it's a tough question.
It is. It is. And
It's
honestly,
not George Clooney, I'll say that.
no, although in retrospect, not as bad as you think. The script was absolutely abysmal, so he only had so much to work with. And I think Val Kilmer's actually the worst Batman.
Well, I agree, and I will say this, and this is the homer that I am. It took me about 10 viewings of Batman and Robin to realize it was a steaming pile of garbage. That is,
Yeah.
I have Batman blinders on, and I'm pretty sure I ran out of the theater, and I was probably 20 at this point, flapping my bat wings because I thought that movie was so awesome. So I have very little credibility when it comes to discerning quality on a Batman movie.
Oh, if you're just tuning in, I want to welcome you to the Between Two Brands podcast, where we dig into everything deep about Batman Bruce Wayne. That is what this podcast is about. Just kidding. All right, hey Travis, I've got some very easy questions. Let's get a little freaky. Let's get a little awkward. Travis, you've described your exit from Alpha Graphics as painful. If you could go back in time and give that Travis a little bit of advice before everything went down, would it be more along the lines of, hey, don't worry, man, you're going to become a living promo legend? Or would it be just, hey, double down on the Rogaine right now while you can handle this thing?
The ironic thing, and I'll get serious momentarily, which is hard for me, but I had purchased 2 weeks before being fired from Alpha Graphics some very expensive Monet hair growth shampoo.
Yep.
And I realized quickly after getting fired, with the legal challenges of a non-compete that came up, that I would never be able to afford any more hair growth shampoo. And so
That's
that
unfortunate.
began the journey to baldness, recognizing that between food, gas, lodging, taking care of the family, hair was number 5 on the list, and that
I
shampoo
understand.
lasted for 7 years. Man, it was a brutal 1 year because we were pursued legally, even though we were in compliance. I'm a high anxiety guy. There was a lot of depression involved, a lot of fear. I think if I had known what was going to happen, I might have gone a different direction. But thank goodness I did not know what was ahead of me, at least for that first year. Hindsight allows that. I would tell Travis, just put your head down and just keep moving forward. And I'm grateful because it has affected our family. We'll get to this, I'd imagine. My family is a big part of our business, and that decision to keep going factored heavily into today.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, you and I've talked extensively about your journey, not on camera, just not even before this podcast. We've known each other for a good year and a half, 2 years.
Yep.
And the way you and Angela, your bride, has persevered through that, and it really is inspiring. And what I liked about that is, we all show on social media the successes and the things like that. I've made it a very big habit of, hey, here's my stumbles, here's a failure, and
Yeah.
here's where I got fired, and all these things. And I've found comfort and solace in that because all of a sudden people would open up and say, "Hey, it wasn't easy for me either." And people who I thought had it so easy. And so,
Everything.
we always think success is this nice little trajectory upwards, and it's really up and down. And so, kudos to you for sticking through. And I think the advice you would give the Travis of old probably would have
Mhm.
been the right advice because that's what you did. All
Yeah, thank
right.
you, Bill.
Hey, speaking of Blue Phoenix Branding being a family business, it says right here, Blue Phoenix Branding is a family business. How many times has Angela threatened to fire you? And yeah, let's just leave it at that.
But I would run out of fingers and toes to count that, Bill.
Okay.
Um, so first of all, we in addition to us, we've got
Hmm.
two 20 some odd year old children working for us. We have a third child who graduates from high school this year, who I do not think will follow us into the business. That is fine.
Okay.
I'm excited for her journey. McKenna's fantastic, but Kylan and Colton are part of the team. It is Game of
All
Thrones level intrigue at Blue Phoenix Branding.
right.
They want this hot seat right here. So I always make someone taste my food first before I eat it, just because I know. Um, no, it is a joy to have them as part
Yeah.
of the team.
And
And to have two children work in the same office, they get to see the best of me, but they sometimes see the vulnerable, hurt, scared, I will say crapless, because I don't know what rating we have on this particular
you can
show.
say scared shitless. It's okay.
I scared you. Anytime there's a deadline, I don't think we can
Yeah.
hit. Anytime this is not going to happen. I remember Kyla just seeing me in utter stupefied disbelief at a challenge ahead, just like, we can't. And I think there is power in our children seeing some of that vulnerability that they would not otherwise
Absolutely.
see.
I think it's so cool in knowing Colton a little bit and Kyla a little bit that they get to see that true entrepreneurial journey and they get to see it on a daily basis because you experience it, I experience it, and a lot of people in this industry experience it, and even outside the industry. At 10 o'clock in the morning, man, this is a great day. At noon, things start going halfway sideways. Like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, and then things happen and it's this constant up and down, up and down, up and down, and the fact that they get to see it I think is wonderful. Mitch, one of my two kids, was home for his spring break. His beach plans fell through, so he when I especially when I worked at home, I worked mostly in the office last week, but he gets to see a little bit of that, but he thinks it's just, well, you run your own business, can't you take off and play golf today? Well, I'd like to, but I can't. You just can't do those
Yeah.
things. So I really love the fact that they get to see it. All right, Travis, I have another question for you because that was number two. This means I'm
Oh,
up to number three.
there's three more. Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. Hey, you're widely known as a nice guy, but you also love yourself some you. Let's get real. Let's get real. If you walk into a room and someone else is the center of attention, how long do you let that slide before pulling off some sort of grand gesture to reclaim the spotlight?
Well, I think you mean rip my shirt off. Is that the
Hmm.
grand gesture we're discussing, Bill?
I think the grand gesture is anything you want to mean. Now, when I wrote this question, I assumed it was some sort of flexing. You might do the crab, you might
Yeah.
do the javelin. I don't know what you do, but there'd be something you'd be doing that would really probably remind me of Hans and Franz from Saturday Night Live as you pump
Pump you
people
up.
up. That's right.
Uh, you know, this is because there are going to be people who are going to come out of this thinking Travis is the most
Yeah,
conceited man in the history of merch. And I do like to have fun with it. I
you do.
have a logo made, Trav Takes on swag, with a big buff bald dude. The
Absolutely,
only
you
thing
do.
that is accurate is the bald.
Yeah.
Um, Looks
Oh,
fade, Bill. I will only be
they
the
do.
sexiest man in merch for a maximum of 60 more years. Um, Kindness is an inexhaustible resource. And I'd say a quick thought here, Bill, I met you on a Promocations promo cruise.
You
And
sure
on
did.
that cruise were industry titans, some of the more dynamic, charismatic, successful salespeople in merch. And it was an interesting experience for me because I recognized fairly quickly that I was not the most witty, not the most funny, and quite frankly, you couldn't throw an apple without hitting a bald promo man. And there was nothing distinct. but there is peace sometimes in not having to be that and just sitting back and enjoying other people's talents. And I think also in that, my dad was always such a champion for the little guy to just
Hmm.
sit back and look. And maybe there's somebody in the corner who doesn't really feel like they're involved. And I think there's power in not being loud. And make no mistake, my volume can be intense in the right moment, but sometimes those peaceful moments, just finding that person who needs a friend. I love that thought.
Yeah. I think that comes with age because there was a time where I not only craved being the center of attention, I needed it
Yeah,
for validation, to felt like I belonged. Now, there's people who knew me maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they see me in a room now, and I'm just like, I'm very fine being in the back. I can be the center of attention if you want me to be, but I'd really actually
right.
prefer not to be.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but let me bust the secret here. Travis really is one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, and he wears the persona. In my opinion, I think you wear this persona of I'm the most handsome man, I'm buff and all that. It's a little bit of armor for you because you use that to as a sarcastic way to disarm people. And I think it's, if you really look at it, what I think you do, it's actually quite charming. And I mean that in the nicest possible sense of the word. That
Thank
was
you.
not a sarcastic comment.
That would
Let's
be
get
my
back to
hope, and I
this.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Let me get back to the sarcasm. You are a gym rat and work out religiously. Do you consider yourself the most shredded man in branded merch or just the best looking? Or is it both? And should we all just kind of accept it?
I don't think I would say that about me. Other people have said that about me, Bill. I think this piggybacks off the last question just a little
It
bit.
does.
I would love if everyone found their spot where they could feel so ridiculously confident in where they're at. Now, for 50, I look pretty good. I'm under no
Yeah.
illusions. I'm going to go to Gold's Gym right after this, and there will be people significantly larger. But I love the place that I'm at where I can have a little fun, poking fun at myself, acting like I'm something else. And it's a beautiful thing to
It
feel that. And
is.
I would wish that on everybody, whatever that is.
I love that. I think, I mean, we've talked about it. I've lost a significant amount of weight in the past year and 4 or 5 months. I did it because I had, I lost it mainly because I got sick with
Right,
diabetes and all these things. But I use that as a catalyst. Okay, it's time to take my health seriously, and so I do something a lot of days that I never thought I'd do, which is run. I ran this morning. I ran 2.5 miles this morning. I don't enjoy the gym anymore like I used to because I used to be like
right.
you. I used to like to lift weights and pump iron. I've got that built, and I don't enjoy that anymore. I take no joy in that. But running, I find very, very therapeutic for me. And through that weight loss, it's been 70 pounds almost now. I have found more, and I was always confident, but now I find a different level of confidence that
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. And so I think anybody, I'm 55, you're 50, how old are you exactly?
50. Yep.
50. So you're 5 years younger than me, but something happens when you get 50, folks. You don't heal as fast as you do. You don't
No.
lose as fast as you do, but you gain a lot faster than you used to. Things just happen. And so I love the fact that part of your commitment to not only yourself, but really to your family is that working out. I think it's actually quite fantastic. Last question for
Right.
Travis Agnes Powell.
Travis
Travis,
Agnes.
you clearly, as we discussed earlier, have an obsession regarding Batman.
Yep, yep.
If Gotham City needed branded merchandise, I would like to ask you the first product you would show the following people. And let's start with not Bruce. Let's start with Robin, the Boy Wonder. What would you show Robin, the Boy Wonder, in terms of branded merchandise?
Now, I have a thought. It may not be safe for work. So can we come back to Robin while I figure out the way to propose Robin? We good with that?
Oh, absolutely, just because his name happens to be uh, Mr. Grayson. Yes, let's go to Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon. Well, Commissioner Gordon's only superpower is flipping a switch and turning
Okay.
that light on. So that dude's probably got to have some backup power packs right there. I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna sound stupid because I read this all the time, but I don't know how to say MAH. It, it,
Milliamps.
okay, we need 10,000 of those and a
Yeah.
stockpile of those.
Okay. I love that. Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, the man who can afford anything and
Yeah.
everything, what would you
Yeah.
show him from a branded merchandise perspective?
I can't think of a single piece of apparel really
No.
that is Bruce Wayne worthy. I'm a bit of an apparel snob, so I'm rocking Travis Matthews,
What?
Adidas. That's what I like to do, but I don't think that's Bruce Wayne worthy.
Yep.
But I think we have a spot in the sock collection
Okay.
with some high-end, just flashy, well-knit socks. I think that would spruce up Bruce.
Kelly Yarbrough over at Sock 101 loves that answer. All right.
Yeah,
The
absolutely. He can
Joker.
send me a little stipend there.
That's right. The Joker. The
The
Joker.
joke.
The clown prince of crime.
Oh, that's a tough one. Do they still in the old days, I feel it was maybe Jornik or something. They had like some face paint and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think he could, and I think that was for
Yeah.
sporting purposes, but I
Okay.
absolutely think that's got to be part of his arsenal is some really good makeup to increase the fear that he imposes on people
I
visually.
love that. A lesser known villain in the Batman world is Bane. Bane. What would you show Bane?
Oh, this is so when Gotham is. Well, you can't
Oh,
understand any.
I can actually do a Bane impression
You can do that.
oh yeah. Oh, Gotham, you're going to suffer.
Yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You couldn't understand 90% of what he said,
No.
but what he said mattered. Well, we all know Bane is juiced.
Yep.
That's not all natural. Nevertheless, it's the triangle of fitness for Travis. Caffeine, it's the three E's. Caffeine,
Okay.
creatine, and protein. We got to go drinkware. So your shaker bottles,
Okay. Nice.
your plastic
Yeah.
bottles. I've got in my truck right now. I have a plastic bottle with some creatine in the bottom. Put some water in. We're going to get a pump here shortly.
Love it. Love it. Okay. You want to go back to Robin or do you want to go right into Batman?
Let's
For
do Batman. Let's do Batman.
Okay, Batman. What would you show Batman? Now, Bruce Wayne, we've already talked about him. Now
Yep,
Batman.
yep.
What do you show Batman?
This is a staple of Batman's wardrobe is the utility belt, and I'm proposing
Correct.
something that's pretty hot in promo right now. Is that we shift that up and a
Okay.
nice crossbody bag. Accessibility, I think that increases both the first answer and belt. No, let me take it a step further here. One of the clear stadium crossbodies.
It's
Do you
even
know
worse.
the fear that instills in people when they can see that you've got three batarangs in there, but Batman doesn't care that you know what he's coming at. He's still gonna, okay, I failed that one. I failed that one.
You have made Batman the least feared superhero this side of Zan and Jaina, the Wonder Twins.
That's
Um,
as sacrilegious as I can get, I guess.
yeah, that was terrible. That was beyond disappointing.
Well, okay, Bill, then let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
would you recommend for the bat?
For Batman,
Yeah.
it certainly wouldn't be a crossbody that's kind of some sort of
What?
bastardized bandolero. No, I think for Batman, I would some really nice earbuds that would fit under his cowl so he could listen to perhaps some Van Halen as he's kicking all sorts of villain booty all over Gotham to
I,
get him going.
I stand corrected and I am ashamed.
All right, you want to hit Robin real quick? We're running out of
Yeah,
time.
well,
You want
I
do
mean,
or does Robin get nothing and like it? Maybe,
well,
Now Robin could rock the crossbody, not the
Robin
pink
could rock.
crossbody.
Well, and so maybe we can go there, but I was going to Robin, the Boy Wonder. Anyone named the Boy Wonder doesn't get a lot of respect. So I was trying to
No.
think of some maybe anatomical stress toys that could help us
Yeah.
rebrand him to the Man Wonder. But I that's
Okay.
about as far as I think I would get with that particular one.
Yeah, I came up with branded sunglasses for Robin just so
Yeah,
maybe he could go incognito a little bit and not be as
yeah, I
embarrassed as he
can't
should be
argue that.
wearing that outfit. Hey, I'll tell you something that's never embarrassing. First of all, thank you for being on here, Travis. I got to pay some rent here real quick. Not embarrassing. Our good pals over at Bell Promo. That's right. Lowest minimums in the industry, deepest inventory around, 5-star and A+ service and simplified pricing. Hell, yes, you can Bell Promo all of that. And now they have 2-day production on the vast majority of their products. Really, honestly. So next time your client asks you, "Can I get some great products that's available, low minimums, and can you turn it around in 2 days? You can confidently tell them, absolutely, I can Bell promo that. Travis, thank you so much, A, for your friendship, but B, being willing to come on here, have a good time, and just hang out with me for a little bit. I really appreciate it.
Bill, my friend, I do bet that Bell Promo has some good crossbody bags. It's always a
They
pleasure when
do.
our paths cross. Yeah, and I truly appreciate you. Wishing you well moving forward.